a known entity and agitator like my guy Thickers, used to read from a book behind the benches at NBA games, yelling at players and all of those kind of things. Some immortal antagonists in our professional sports history. But this is where the NFL makes the 2-game suspension. I got to imagine you can find a bunch of the season ticket holders from that section and either get a refuted story one way or the other, or corroboration, whichever side's on the defensive here in terms of how this played out. Because you can't tell me that as soon as Metcalf took one step towards that sideline, another 100 cell phones didn't go up. And if this guy's a constant agitator, as Metcalf and the story alleges, then that's a whole other issue in terms of what he's got to work with NFL security and facility security going forward with Mr. Kennedy and any of the people that might be accompanying him to games. But, to take that in your own hands, it may cost him, and they're saying that it could activate $40 to $50 million loss.
To get the rest of what Jason Smith and Mike Harmon said, podcast it by searching The Jason Smith Show with Mike Harmon. And as always, you can hear The Jason Smith Show with Mike Harmon weeknights at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific, right here on Fox Sports Radio.
Basically, get out of the way.
The Dan Patrick Show.
Dan Patrick.
Yeah! The Niners could host the Super Bowl. It's in San Francisco, so technically they will be, as a franchise, hosting the Super Bowl. They could have home field advantage throughout the NFC playoffs. And I could see them in the Super Bowl or bowing out with their first playoff game. I really don't know how good they are. We want to have a statement. We want to make a declarative statement back in September or October because we got it all figured out. But you got to factor in a lot of things. You got to factor in who you've played, who you're going to play, injuries, certain matchups. You're facing this division, that division, backup quarterbacks, and that's where it's survival. 17 games, survival. Just ask the Kansas City Chiefs.
The Dan Patrick Show.
Dan and the Danettes and you.
Weekdays 9 a.m. Eastern, 6 Pacific on Fox Sports Radio. I give you 2 pros and a cup of Joe.
They're extremely talented.
Putting the more in mornings.
Can you feel the power?
Jonas Knox.
Fired out.
LeVar Arrington.
Hear the roar.
And Brady Quinn.
Some dudes just go about their business.
That's the crew.
It's 2 pros and a cup of Joe. Listen every weekday at 6 a.m. Eastern, 3 a.m. Pacific.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Get more out of your mornings on Fox Sports Radio. FS1.
Call your friends and ask how they doing.
To find FS1 on your television, go to foxsports.com for details.
Boom. Trust your eyes.
FS1.
You're listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMZ FM in HD1 San Francisco on Odyssey Sports Station. Always live on the free Odyssey app, Twitch, and YouTube. Powered by First NorCal Credit Union.
Yes, it is. Welcome into Warriors Live on 95.7 The Game. Mark Randy with you live from Chase Center as we get ready for some Saturday night basketball here on 95.7 The Game. The Warriors hosting the Utah Jazz. Tip-off is just about an hour away right here on 95.7 The Game. Warriors Live is presented by Xfinity, your home court advantage. Brought to you by Xfinity. Watch all your favorite teams all in one place. Xfinity, imagine that. Well, the Warriors are coming off of a back-to-back but really only kind of half of a back-to-back because the majority of this team's starters did not play last night in the game for the Warriors. Steph Curry, Jimmy Butler, Draymond Green all did not play. Add on to that, neither did DeAnthony Melton, neither did Jonathan Kuminga, neither did Seth Curry. Now, Seth Curry is still out in this game. Everybody else, though, looks like is going to be available for the Warriors to play in this game. Let's just kick things off with the injury report because that is, these days across the NBA and these days for the Warriors, the most important part of news as we get ready for basketball games. So let's just do that here right off the bat. For the Golden State Warriors, Steph Curry was listed as questionable with a left ankle sprain. Steve Kerr talked about 45 minutes ago. This also goes for Jimmy Butler, who was listed as questionable with a general illness. And Jonathan Kuminga, who was listed as questionable with lower back soreness. He said about 45 minutes ago that he does not yet know if those guys were going to play. Well, about 20 minutes ago, news just came out. Jimmy Butler is available. Stephen Curry is available. Jonathan Kuminga listed now as probable, so upgraded from questionable to probable. The question still remains, though, if Kuminga is available to play, will he be called upon to play? He was scheduled and set to play last night with all of the absences, but with Steph back, with Jimmy back, with Draymond back, with Melton back, even if Kuminga is available tonight, will he play? If the past is any indicator, probably not, but it looks like he's going to be available. He's currently listed as probable. So again, Steph is available. He was questionable. Same goes for Jimmy Butler. Jonathan Kuminga is now probable. Will Richard was probable with a left heel issue. He is now upgraded to available, so Will Richard will play tonight. Seth Curry is still out. Al Horford is out. Al is not playing in back-to-backs. He was the only veteran that played last night, just about. So he's sitting out this game today, technically with a left toe injury management tag, but this is just, he does not play in back-to-backs, and he played last night. Seth Curry is a legitimate injury absence for sure. He's dealing with left sciatic nerve irritation. It's cost him a number of games, and he is sitting out with that. But Steph is playing, Jimmy is playing, Draymond isn't even on the injury report. He's been a go all day long. He's playing, and it looks like Kuminga is going to be available as well for the Warriors. Meanwhile, for the Jazz, they have a relatively long list of injuries as well. Their number 5 overall pick out of Rutgers, Ace Bailey, is out. He's been dealing with a left hip flexor strain issue. Yusuf Nurkic, the big man, you might remember him with the Suns, with the Blazers, with the Nuggets. He is out with what is technically called a left first metatarsal phalangeal joint sprain. They call it just a left first MTP sprain. It's commonly called turf toe. That's what Yusuf Nurkic is dealing with. And I know there's another sporting event going on right now down in the Santa Clara area where the phrase turf toe has been thrown around quite often, similar to what Yusuf Nurkic is dealing with. So he is out. He will not play in this game tonight. George Niang dealing with a left foot stress reaction. It's cost him basically the entire season. He's out as well. Walker Kessler had surgery to repair something in his left shoulder. He's out for the season. Lauri Markkanen, who's been dealing with a left knee contusion, listed as probable and is expected to play. And in fact, as I refresh and I get the latest update from the Jazz, Lauri Markkanen is available, so he will play tonight. And Keontae George was listed as probable with an illness. That's what cost him his last game. He is available to play. So the two big scorers for Utah, Keontae George and Lauri Markkanen, they are available to play, and that is a big boost for Utah because those are two of the best scorers in the NBA. More on that in a sec. This is Warriors Live, presented by Xfinity, your home court advantage, brought to you by Xfinity. Watch all your favorite teams all in one place. Xfinity, imagine that. Utah comes in at 12-21. They're 11th, tied for 11th, in fact, in the Western Conference. They're tied with the same exact record as the Clippers, who have won 6 games in a row, led by Kawhi Leonard, who's seemingly dropping 40 points every time out of late. The Clippers have won 6 in a row to move up with a tie with Utah in the 11th 7th spot. The Warriors are 5 games ahead of Utah, but if you look at the loss column, if the Warriors were to lose to Utah tonight, the Warriors would only have 3 fewer losses than Utah. I know if you are a Warrior fan and you're looking at the standings, you're really only looking upwards. You're thinking of Phoenix right in front of them. You're thinking of Minnesota a couple of spots ahead. You're not really worried about what's coming up behind you. Utah, they are a younger team. They have some quality pieces. They have really been inconsistent all season. They're 12-21, haven't really had any kind of great stretch or absolutely terrible stretch. It's kind of just been a lot of the same for Utah all season. They're currently in a spot where they've lost 2 in a row and have lost 6 of their last 8 games, but this isn't really the only stretch like that they've had so far this season. But just to give you an idea of how cramped, like spots 8 through 12 can be in the Western Conference, if the Warriors were to lose, that's only 3 losses separating the Warriors from the Utah Jazz, and Utah is on the outside looking in of not just the playoff picture, but of the play-in picture as well. So tonight is a big game. It is a Western Conference game, and we'll see how it all plays out. But the Utah Jazz, they do get, of course, the boost of Keontae George and Lauri Markkanen both being available. This is also a Utah team that has beaten a lot of impressive teams so far this year. They are just 12-21. They're 4-10 away from Salt Lake City so far this season, but they have beaten teams such as Phoenix. I know you might not think of Phoenix as one of the better teams in the league, and certainly they're not like a top 5 team in the league. One of the biggest surprises, though, in the NBA so far this season are the Phoenix Suns. They're sitting at 20-14, one of their 14 losses to this Utah Jazz team. Utah has also beat Boston, who's kind of flying under the radar a bit, I think, across the league, considering Jason Tatum's injury, but they have been really good this year. They're 3rd in the Eastern Conference right now at 21-12. They've also beat Houston. Utah has. Houston's the 3rd best team in the Western Conference at 21-10. They've beaten Detroit, who's been the best team in the East all season long so far at 25-9, and they've beaten the Spurs, who are 25-9, the 2nd best team in the West, and the team that's beaten OKC 3 times already this season. So the Jazz have some impressive wins on their resume, and what that means is if you take this team lightly, they can beat anybody, and the Warriors are certainly susceptible to that. They know exactly what I'm talking about when I say any team can beat any other team, because the Warriors have some impressive wins. They also have some really frustrating losses, and we'll see what happens in this one here tonight. Let's talk about these Utah scorers, though, because I don't think a lot of people around the league realize just how impressive what a couple of Utah Jazz players are doing is. Lauri Markkanen, it's a name a lot of Warrior fans know. Of course, if you're a fan of college basketball, you remember him back with the Arizona Wildcats way back when. Long time with the Bulls, spent some time in Cleveland, and of late has been in Utah. A couple of summers ago, there was a lot of drama around Lauri Markkanen and maybe a trade to the Golden State Warriors. It ultimately did not happen. Lauri Markkanen is having, though, an amazing season. He's averaging 27.7 points per game. He's shooting 47% from the field, 36.6% from downtown, 91% from the free throw line, also 7 rebounds and 2 assists per game for Lauri Markkanen. Those 27.7 points per game, 10th best in the NBA, the 10th highest scoring average. It's just 1 point behind Stephen Curry, who's averaging 28.7 points per game. And then Keontae George, 3rd-year guard, out of Baylor. He's been awesome so far this year, averaging 24.6 points per game. That's the 19th highest points per game average in the NBA. Over 4 rebounds per game, just under 7 assists per game. And his shooting splits, 45.5% from the field, 37.4% from deep, and 90% from the free throw line. They got a couple of really dynamic offensive players, and one of them is 7 feet tall. The other is 6'4". This is a tough cover for the Warriors, and specifically Keontae George, that smaller, quicker guard kind of archetype, is the kind of player that the Warriors have struggled with in the past. So I'm really interested to see how the Warriors defend Keontae George tonight. I asked Steve Kerr about the challenge, and this was pregame, I asked Steve Kerr about the challenge of defending someone like a Keontae George. and he didn't dive into specifics in terms of how they're going to attack him. But he said last time the Warriors played him, it was in November here at Chase Center. Keontae George got loose. He had 28 points, 6 rebounds, 7 assists, made 4 of his 8 threes. They specifically did a really bad job on him in the first quarter. I mentioned 4 for 8 on threes in that game. Keontae George was. He was 4 for 4 in the first quarter. 0 for 4 the rest of the game, but 4 for 4 from deep in the first quarter alone. And if you remember this, it was kind of one of the more interesting moments of this Warriors season so far, because I don't remember if it was the fourth made three, maybe it was the third, either third or fourth made three of that first quarter for Keontae George versus the Warriors. It was where he was hanging out on the right wing. I believe the ball was on the top of the key, not really in any dangerous spot, not as if there was a drive. I believe it was Sensabaugh for Utah who had the ball in his hands, not as if he blew past his guy and was driving towards the rim and somebody had to come in and help out. That's not what happened. The ball was not in a dangerous spot, but Podziemski, who was checking Keontae George on the right wing, kind of just got sucked into the paint where the ball generally was, but again, not in much of a dangerous situation, and he left Keontae George wide open on the right wing. Ball finds itself to Keontae George, and he hits a wide open right wing three right in front of the Warriors bench and Steve Kerr. Kerr immediately calls timeout, was irate, subbed Podziemski out, and didn't play him for the rest of that first half. And that happened in the first quarter, so he sat the rest of the first quarter and sat the entire second quarter. That's what Steve Kerr was referencing when I asked him about Keontae George, and he said we didn't do a very good job on him. He got loose early, 4 for 4 from deep in the first quarter. But this is quite the scoring duo in Lauri Markkanen and Keontae George. There are only 3 teams in the NBA this season that have 2 top 20 scorers, and the Utah Jazz are one of them. Utah Jazz have Lauri Markkanen, 10th most points per game, and Keontae George, 19th most points per game. The only other 2 teams that can boast 2 top 20 scorers are the Denver Nuggets with Nikola Jokic, 5th best scorer, and Jamal Murray, the 18th best scorer, and the Lakers with Luka Doncic, the top scorer in the NBA, and Austin Reeves, the 12th best scorer in the NBA. So it's not all about offense. Today's NBA, right? This is a game that's played on 2 sides of the floor, offense and defense, and Utah is susceptible defensively, there is no doubt, but they got a couple of hoopers on the offensive end, and if the Warriors aren't careful, Utah can really put up a bunch of points in this one. I mean, just look at these numbers in the month of December specifically, and I want to read off these numbers to you and the names attached to these numbers because it really puts into perspective how good these 2 guys are and specifically how good they've been of late. Western Conference points per game leaders in December. Okay, let me read the names. Most points per game in the West in the month of December. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander of OKC. That's the reigning MVP, the reigning finals MVP, and the best player on the best team in the league. Then it's Luka Doncic, one of the most gifted scorers that this league, frankly, has ever seen. After that, it's Nikola Jokic, one of the best players, frankly, that this league has ever seen. Then it's Steph Curry, who is, much like Nikola Jokic, one of the best players this game has ever seen. Then Kawhi Leonard. These are all legends that we're talking about here. Then Anthony Edwards, who is by far the youngest of this group so far, but is on his way to superstardom and potentially a Hall of Fame track. After Anthony Edwards, you have Keontae George, the third-year guard out of Baylor, averaging 28 points per game in December, and then Lauri Markkanen right behind him, who averaged 27 points per game in December. Again, those names, SGA, Luka, Jokic, Curry, Kawhi, and Keontae George and Lauri Markkanen. Those are your top scorers in the West in the month of December. So this is a Utah team that can score with the best of them, and it's led by Keontae George and Lauri Markkanen. How about for this season, Keontae George's draft class? And if you remember his draft class, that was the Victor Wembanyama draft class. This year, Keontae George is averaging more points than anyone else in his draft class. more points per game than Victor Wembanyama. That is Keontae George. He was the 16th overall pick in 2023, the third-year guard out of Baylor, 13 points per game as a rookie, 17 points per game last year, up to 24.6 points per game this season. There's a lot of candidates for most improved player across the NBA this season. Denny Avdia of the Blazers come to mind. He's been awesome. And he would be deserving of that award. Keontae George, though, I can guarantee you is at least going to get votes. And again, as we try to bring this back to this game here tonight, this is the kind of player, a shorter, quicker guard who can shoot from deep, from the mid-range, who can drive and finish around the rim. These are the kinds of players that give the Warriors defense trouble. So in the Warriors starting group, which I imagine is going to be Steph Curry, Moses Moody, Jimmy Butler, Draymond Green, and Quentin Post again, I would imagine Keontae George is going to be guarded by Moses Moody to begin this basketball game. Can Moses stay in front of Keontae George consistently enough? And Keontae also works a lot off the ball, and it's something that Steve Kerr brought up when I asked him about it pregame. You're going to have to pay attention to him off the ball as well. And they run a lot of two-man game with Lauri Markkanen and Keontae George. How do the Warriors handle those switches when you've got a great shooter and a great scorer, both in the ball handling spot and the screener spot? How do the Warriors handle that? Off the bench, are you going to put DeAnthony Melton on Keontae George? Will GP2 draw that assignment a little bit? The Warriors are going to be challenged to defend Keontae George. That, I think, for me, is matchup number one I'm looking for in this game, and we'll talk about how the Warriors did once this game wraps up on Warriors Wrap-Up. I'll be here for that as well, live from Chase Center. Okay, so Utah's 12-21. The Warriors are 18-17, and they are just beginning a really important stretch of basketball. We talked about it last night, if you were here for that one. Last night's game against OKC was the beginning of an 11-game stretch of basketball where the Warriors, 10 games at home, 10 of the 11 at home, the 11th in L.A. versus the Clippers. That's up next for the Warriors on Monday in L.A. versus Kawhi, James Harden, and the Clippers, who again have won 6 games in a row. But all 11 of these games in California, 10 of them are at home. And we put out a poll on our 95.7 The Game Twitter page yesterday. How many wins do the Warriors need to get for you to consider this 11-game stretch a success? And by far, the most popular choice was 8 wins. And so that means an 8-3 record over these 11 games, which started last night. And last night was a loss, which means now over the next 10, you're looking at an 8-2 goal for the Warriors, which sounds pretty aggressive. I do think it is doable if they play the way that they have over their last number of games. Despite last night's loss, they are still 5-2 in their last 7, and one of those losses is to OKC, the best team in the league, when the Warriors were down their 3 best players. So you can kind of sweep that under the rug. Of course, it's a loss, and it counts against you, but it's not as if that was truly who this Warrior team is. If you want to go 8-2 in your next 10, it's pretty simple. Tonight has to be a win. It absolutely has to be a win because the Clippers in LA suddenly feels a whole lot more difficult. Milwaukee is not a gimme. They are not nearly as good as they've been in the past, but any team that puts Giannis out there on a night-to-night basis, they can beat you. Sacramento should be a win if you're the Warriors. You feel good about Atlanta, although they're not a terrible team by any means. They are an average team. Portland has given you trouble, but you'd like to think you can beat them. The Knicks come to town. That's going to be a tough one. You should beat Charlotte at home. And then you got a Miami and Toronto back-to-back. And, you know, straight up, you feel good about your chances to beat both of those teams, but it remains to be seen how the Warriors handle a back-to-back at the tail end of this really long homestand that's coming up. So we'll see how it all plays out. Bottom line, I think tonight is a really, really important game. If the Warriors lose this one, they're back to 500. Of course, sky is not falling, and it's not over, but this is a game at home versus a team that is worse than you, and you're back to basically full health. This is a game that you should absolutely win tonight if you're the Golden State Warriors. This is Warriors Live, presented by Xfinity, your home court advantage, brought to you by Xfinity. Watch all your favorite teams all in one place. Xfinity, imagine that. Let's get to our Take It to the Bank prediction, which, as always, is brought to you by Fremont Bank, here for you, here for good. I'm looking at Draymond Green tonight, who rested last night and did not play. I'm going to go over 4.5 assists for Draymond Green tonight. Last game he played, again, he rested last night, was New Year's Eve in Charlotte. He had 12 assists in that game, had the ball in his hands a lot on offense. he has kind of been at the center of a lot of discussion regarding his turnovers of late. Remember, there was the discussion, the argument that Draymond Green and Steve Kerr had on the bench of a recent home game after he committed a turnover and Steve Kerr called timeout. Draymond and Steve Kerr were kind of barking back at each other on the bench during that timeout, and eventually Draymond got up, walked off the bench down the hallway into the locker room, and did not return to the bench until the following quarter and did not play the rest of that game. There's since been, of course, a lot of talking between Draymond and Steve Kerr. They've talked about it publicly and how they have squashed whatever frustrated them in that moment. Since then, I do think we've seen Draymond be better with the ball in his hands. Had those 12 assists last time out. Did turn the ball over 4 times on New Year's Eve. I think the majority of those, I think 3 of them were turnovers of aggressiveness. And if you're Steve Kerr, you can live with those. There was one bad one, and he still got to curtail those turnovers. But I did think we saw Draymond take a bit of a step forward in terms of taking care of the ball over the road trip. So I'm going to go back to it. Over 4.5 assists for Draymond tonight. And really one of the only good things about last night's basketball game was I did get my ticket to the bank prediction right, as always brought to you by Fremont Bank. I went Pat Spencer over 3.5 assists last night. He had 11, and I think he cashed the over 3.5 like with 8 minutes to go in the first half. So I hit it last night. I'm going back to the assists tonight, but changing to Draymond Green and over 4.5 assists for Draymond Green. I think the Warriors want to get him the ball often because that's the way that you can unlock Steph Curry against this Utah defense, which can be had. As much as I've talked about Utah and what they do offensively with Lauri Markkanen and Keontae George, it's not as if they're world beaters defensively. So the Warriors absolutely should be able to put up some points in this basketball game tonight. Again, with Steph Curry back, Draymond Green back, DeAnthony Melton back, Jimmy Butler back. He was questionable with an illness, but he is good to go. Steph was questionable with a ankle tweak. He is good to go. Draymond was always good to go. He was rested last night, not out with any kind of injury. So the Warriors basically back to full strength in this one. All right, about a minute left with you here on Warriors Live. Mark Randy getting ready to hand things off to Tim Roy and company. They are topside at Chase Center as we speak, getting ready for this basketball game. It's Warriors and the Jazz. Warriors come in at 18 and 17, 8th in the Western Conference. The Jazz 12 and 21, tied for 11th in the West. All games in the Western Conference are big, and don't just scoff at Utah because they are in the 11th spot in the Western Conference. A loss for the Warriors would mean the Jazz are only 3 back of Utah, the Jazz would only be 3 back of the Warriors in the loss column if the Warriors were to lose tonight. This is a big game for the Warriors in the standings. It's a big game for the Warriors just in general because you don't want to fall back to 500 at 18 and 18. All right, Warriors and Jazz, a little more than a half hour away. Tim Roy is standing by, and we'll get it out to the arena in just a minute. Warriors Live is presented by Xfinity, your home court advantage, brought to you by Xfinity. Watch all your favorite teams all in one place. Xfinity, imagine that. I'll be back for Warriors wrap-up once this game is over, and hopefully we're talking about a Warrior win against these Utah Jazz tonight. All right, Warriors and Jazz, it's on the way. Again, a little more than 30 minutes from right now. Tim Roy, Tom Tolbert, and company will take you the rest of the way, and then I'll be back for postgame here on 95.7 The Game. Warriors and Jazz coming up next right here on 95.7 The Game.
Ready for your next adventure? Welcome to San Francisco International Airport, your getaway to the world. With over 130 nonstop destinations worldwide, SFO offers seamless travel experiences, stunning art installations, and delicious dining options. Whether you're flying for business or pleasure, our state-of-the-art facilities make your journey smoother than ever. Don't forget to explore our unique shops and local flavors. Pack your bags and take off from San Francisco International Airport. SFO, your adventure awaits.
I'm Bob Burke, founder and chairman of Burke America Parts Group, a family of brands that includes RepairClinic.com, an appliance and HVAC parts solution company that's grown into an international brand. Before AmericanEagle.com, we partially launched a new technology platform developed by another firm. American Eagle helped take our technology to a whole new level with digital marketing, software development, and business insights into our key markets, appliances, HVAC, and outdoor power equipment, and did so both on time and on budget. AmericanEagle.com has the resources, experience, and talent needed to produce solutions. Our new technology platform, developed by AmericanEagle.com, has produced tremendous results with higher traffic, conversion, engagement, and online revenue. If you have any home repairs you need to take care of, check us out at RepairClinic.com. If you need a world-class website or technology project, then I would highly recommend AmericanEagle.com.
Call AmericanEagle.com at 773-NETWORK. That's AmericanEagle.com, 773-NETWORK.
Hey, it's your boy Guru. Every time we put a rat on the table during our show, it's brought to you by Atco Pest Control. Atco Pest Control is a family-owned local business proud to provide pest control in the Bay Area for over 35 years. Atco uses natural methods to give you a peace of mind and keep your family out of harm's way. Quality pest control doesn't have to empty your savings either. Don't wait. Go to AtcoPestControl.com for all your pest control needs. They got you covered.
Join History San Jose for South Bay Flashback, Riffs, Rhythms, and Revolution. This new exhibit celebrates San Jose's forgotten music scene of the 1960s through over 200 show posters, artifacts, and stories. Whether you danced to these beats the first time around or you're discovering the roots of rock history, this free exhibit will take you back to this psychedelic moment. Now open select weekends at the Paseta House in History Park. Visit historysanjose.org or 408-287-2290 to plan your visit.
If you're one of the millions of Americans behind on your taxes, if you're afraid to open your mail because IRS collection letters could be coming, listen carefully. The IRS is cracking down, taking paychecks, freezing bank accounts, revoking passports. That's a fact. But here's what most people don't know. There are official tax relief programs designed to help struggling taxpayers. Programs that could save you thousands if you qualify. No one knows these programs better than the experts at Optima Tax Relief. Optima's award-winning team will fight to protect your paycheck, your passport, and your property. Their tax attorneys and licensed tax professionals will work tirelessly to get you the best deal possible with the IRS. Every day, penalties and interest keep piling up, so don't wait. Call Optima now for a free consultation.
Call 800-568-6533. 800-568-6533. 800-568-6533.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Doors and loading dock equipment are a crucial part of your business, and one you probably don't think much about until they break. A broken door or dock leveler can be a real security threat, along with disturbing the flow of goods in your business. Luckily, RNS is here for all your commercial door, dock, and gate needs. From overhead doors and security shutters to fire-rated and personnel doors, RNS can provide your business with safety and security. Call 800-FIX-A-DOOR to schedule a free estimate or visit rsdoors.com. RNS Doors. Look for the red truck.
Hey, it's Willard for Underdog Fantasy. Football season is rolling toward the end. Christian McCaffrey is rolling towards some major stats. Let's get in on this, root for it, maybe make some money too. With Underdog Unwrapped, you're going to unwrap a bunch of promos going on right now, boosts, gimme picks, even some surprises sprinkled in. You should check it out because you can make picks and win money right now in California. Playing on Underdog is easy. You pick whether your favorite players are going to go higher or lower on stats, rushing yards, receiving yards with CMC. You get the idea. So play with me, download the Underdog app, and use my promo code Willard to score $75 in bonus entries when you play your first $5. Again, the promo code is Willard. Underdog. Make picks, win money. Must be 18 or over and present in California. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_.html for details. If you're concerned with your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER or go online at ncpgambling.org.
I bet you folks are glad to be done with your shopping. Hopefully, all your gifts went well. But there's one last store to visit, this time just for yourself. Your chance to get one of the top-rated Samsung, LG, or Sony TVs at a crazy low price. Where? At Video Only's year-end clearance sale. A great way to end the year. If you don't check out these deals at Video Only, you'll be sorry.
This Odyssey Sports broadcast is presented by ZipRecruiter. Looking to hire? ZipRecruiter finds the best candidate for your job fast. Try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Point game.
Point game. Now that point game, that means one more point, man. We win this.
I understand.
$500 point game, all right?
I understand. What you gonna do, man? You go teach class or play basketball?
Yo, I've been teaching class on you all day. Taking you right to the clinic, baby. Come on. Matter of fact, class is in session again. Ding, ding. Check.
Check this.
You're too stupid to even catch the ball.